Everyone. Eric's smarter than me. He knows more about blockchain than I do. He used to work for NASDAQ in Sweden, and then they sold their project to another company. What are you doing now?
Well, only for about 3 weeks in total that I really worked on the NASDAQ project. So they acquired our company, and I was involved in some of the NASDAQ blockchain projects. But they're totally blockchain, not crypto.
Right.
And I've sort of segued away from that a couple of years back. So.
Hey, three weeks on blockchain is an eternity. Who knows what could happen?
I did a long time in blockchain before that. I did a whole year in enterprise blockchain solutions for the company that NASDAQ acquired.
Okay.
And how to build enterprise solutions for the traditional financial space. But I eventually got sick of that, because if you look at technically at something like Hyperledger Fabric, they still haven't developed a Byzantine fault-tolerant algorithm. Right. They have a Raft consensus algorithm, which is just fault on just broadcasting messages, but they don't have any. They don't have the fundamental basics of what a blockchain should achieve yet. Right. And they've been around since 2015. Right. Yeah. So I've given up on that space pretty much completely. It doesn't feel like they're gonna innovate in any particular. And at the end of the day, I realized so I got into this because I was interested in crypto, and then at the end of it, I'm building database synchronization layers for enterprises. That's not what I want. Yeah, that's not what I came there to do. But it took some time to realize that. I tricked myself into doing something that I wasn't interested in.
Right. So he knows about Paxos and Raft and other Byzantine consensus type things, which is something that distributed networks have dealt with forever, right? So there's the what's that tripartite theorem that the CAP theorem?
The CAP theorem.
You can have
consistency, availability, and partition tolerance.
Right. And that's it. Choose which two you want.
Yeah, well, you got to have partition tolerance. So the only two that you can really you can only choose between consistency and availability. Right. So Bitcoin chooses availability, so it's not consistent all the time. That's why it has forks. Yep. If you choose availability, then you don't get the consistency. But if you choose consistency, then you can have your system can stop. Right. So that's then you can have people not signing signing blocks or producing blocks, and it's the liveness property. Right. So it stops.
So I think, since all of that stuff is useless to you guys because you're not designing consensus networks, we're just going to stop talking to you about that stuff because you don't understand any of that. So we're going to talk to you something easier. I made a token called Hex. He is an expert at shit-talking tokens. So he has shit-talked the living hell out of IOTA. He shit-talked Hedera Hashgraph extremely well. Is there any other coins that you've shit-talked very well?
So you mentioned IOTA and Hashgraph. I think I've given Neo a lot of shit, and Chainlink.
All right.
And what else? What else do I don't like? There's a whole bunch of them. You can.
Do you like Bitcoin?
Yeah, I love Bitcoin.
Okay. All right. So let's fuck up Hex. Let's fuck it up.
All right, and I actually don't know that much about Hex.
Well,
I would say I basically don't know anything about.
I'm the
Hex.
right guy to tell you.
I only know that Richard Hart is forking Bitcoin.
Well, then you don't know much.
That's all I know. So,
all right. Well, I'll square it up for you.
Yeah. Well, let me. Sure. Don't do your marketing pitch. I want to dig into this. Okay. So in the first place, are you using proof of work?
Yes.
Okay. So how much hash rate do you think you're going to have on that chain?
All of Ethereum's.
All
it's
of
ERC20 tokens.
Okay. But Ethereum's hash rate is not SHA-256.
Correct. It's better.
Okay.
Mining on Ethereum is.
So you're gonna have the same hashing algorithm as Ethereum.
We are an ERC20 token on Ethereum.
But then you're not forking. Okay, are you?
That's
forking,
right. You're not
forking.
Are you
forking the Bitcoin UTXO?
We're forking the UTXO set, but even that is an edited fork. We're removing Mt. Gox.
Isn't that going to cost a shit ton of money to get the transaction?
It would, except we're so smart that we figured out how to do it without the fees. So we use a pull system. So what he's explaining is a pull system. Yeah. So if there was a token on Ethereum, an ERC20 token that wanted to shove its tokens on top of everyone else, and they spammed up the network, forcing their tokens on everyone, and made the transactions very expensive for everyone else, which is a very, very stupid way to do it. So what we do is we take the Bitcoin UTXO set, which is basically just all the balances in the Bitcoin network, and we make a Merkle tree.
Yeah, I was going to
and
ask
we make
you
a top
to
hash.
Merkleize that. Yeah.
And then they just claim against the top hash.
Okay, and then they got to prove the Merkle path and see that
Exactly.
my transactions belong
Yep.
in the Merkle tree.
And so
but
that's,
how do you? But Bitcoin doesn't have a Merkleized state root though. I mean, the Bitcoin has Merkle trees, a bunch of them in each block, but it's not like Ethereum. You have the whole state. I mean, you have all the balances, and you have one Merkle root that represents all of that. In Bitcoin, you only have one Merkle root per block, which only shows which transactions was in that block, but you don't have actually a Merkle root that proves each individual balance.
well,
So how do you?
it's easy to generate a Merkle. Once you take the snapshot,
Yeah,
you
but
just
how do
generate
you
your own
trust?
Merkle tree.
How can I trust that?
We publish the same tool to you that we use to generate it.
Okay, so somebody's got to validate the entire Bitcoin network using a full node first, and then they know that the state or the state Merkle root was correct.
Right. So what we do to prove. So there was another project called Bitcoin Private that gave away tokens if you had a Bitcoin balance.
I know, and I had those because I think it was you that tipped me off, and I bought a bunch, and then they merged. Yeah, no, I bought some Zcash Classic.
Right. Yeah.
Or whatever it was called. The one
Yeah,
that
the merge fork.
Yeah. So I got some of those, and that's why I got the Bitcoin private ones.
Yeah.
And that was I think I made,
Yeah.
at one point I had one Zcash that I sold for Zcash Classic.
Yeah.
So I had like 120 of them.
Right.
So that became 120 BTCP,
Right.
which was like 2.5 Bitcoin at one point.
Right.
So that was an insane.
Congrats.
I didn't sell at the exact right
Well,
moment.
it went down very quickly.
Yeah, I waited too long and I got like
So you
25%
may-
or something like
You
that.
might know this, but there was a scam in that project where someone just inserted their own UTXOs and no one verified it, and you just got a bunch of free money.
Yeah, Rhett. Well,
You just got a bunch of free money.
Rhett got a bunch of the. Well, it has to be Rhett. He got a bunch of transactions in the shielded pool, in the shielded Zcash pool that nobody saw. So Zcash has a transparent pool and a shielded pool, and he was able to somehow get a bunch of unnoticed tokens in the supply in the shielded pool that he could pull out of.
Okay.
So
Whatever, it was a scam. So how do you prevent that shit from happening? People have to audit every step of the process. So in Hex, how do we audit it? One, we take the Bitcoin snapshot, and then we publish the balances, and then we tell you who we're removing, which is Mt. Gox and the plus token Ponzi if I can find them, and basically no one else because I can't find them. And then you make your Merkle tree, and then you see that top hash equals what's in the smart contract, and you're done.
okay, I get it. So
It's totally trustless, verifiable.
You chop off some of the supply that we know is either lost or
Well, just Mt. Gox because we have court records that show those addresses. Because all you can do contractually is sell it. We're not trying to give tokens to people that are going to sell
but
them.
my coins are in there.
Well, tough luck. Like I hope you enjoy the Bcash that he sold 60,000 of or 40,000 of. So the Mt. Gox trustee sold 40,000 Bitcoin and 40,000 Bitcoin Cash.
Yeah.
How was the world better because he got to sell 40,000 Bitcoin Cash? He didn't
Yeah,
make that
do you
ecosystem
remember
better.
that though? That was so funny because I lost my nearly like all of my bitcoins in the Mt. Gox collapse in 2014.
Right.
And then after that, I was a trader. I was trading, and I made my way back bit by bit by just trying to become an expert in cryptocurrency trading.
Right.
And it took me, 3 years to get back to that point in time where I'm at the same balance that I had before.
Right.
I was up quite a bit from my
Right.
original Mt. Gox balance.
Right.
And I'm in a long position, stupidly like over leveraged in a long position because it was in 2017 or 2018.
Right.
These highly volatile
Yep.
times, so
Yep.
much money to be made. And Kobayashi,
Dumps
the
it.
trustee,
Yep.
dumps,
Yep.
and he's selling my own Bitcoin.
Yeah. Yep.
That's crashing and
Yep.
he's making me liquidate,
Yep.
BitMEX liquidation of
Yep.
my own.
Yep.
He's selling my own coins to give me back the money that
Yep.
he owns me,
Yep.
and in the process liquidates my position.
Yeah.
How fucked up is that?
Well, here's the worst part. All that money is actually going to go to Karpolis. Karpolis is going to get most of that money. And then
Or
people are going
Brock
to have to
Pierce.
sue him. People are going to have to sue him for it. Or
Brock Pierce.
Vincennes. Or CoinLab Vincennes with his stupid lawsuit.
Yeah, that guy, the one that's
Yeah.
been holding up the thing
Peter
forever, right?
Peter Vincennes, I think his name is.
I spoke to Brock Pierce about this though, and he says that he has a legitimate claim on the Mt. Gox shares.
Uh-huh.
Do you know anything
That
about
fucking money is never gonna get given out, dude. No one's ever gonna see their Gox money.
Well, I don't think that Carpellis is going to take it though. I mean, he said that he's not going to. But it's quite funny. So he fucked up in the most glorious way that you could possibly do, and then as a result of it, he became like one of the richest guys in the entire industry. On paper.
Yeah.
It's fucked
Life
up.
is not fair.
All right, but let's talk more about your hex thing.
Sure.
Because okay, so you're putting a pruned UTXO set on the Ethereum chain.
Yep.
And I know one thing about hex. It's about generating interest. Right?
Yes.
So you stake your hex.
Yes.
Why do you stake your hex?
If you believe that all of finance should become peer-to-peer and trustless, and that we should get rid of all these centralized, shitty, banks and banksters, well then open source software has to be developed to do that. And in Bitcoin and in all other cryptocurrencies, no one has replaced the time deposit, the certificate for deposit, what they call in the UK bonds. No one has replaced that. Nobody. You have master nodes, which you can unlock whenever you want and dump it.
Wait. Time deposits.
Yes.
But when you make a time deposit, you actually give those funds to the bank. They
Yes.
become accessible to the bank.
Right.
If you stake something in Hex, who are you making it accessible to? Why should you have any right to earn interest on something that you don't loan out to?
You could call it virtual lending, and that you're lending it to everyone that's not staked, because it holds the price of the not staked coins up. So in theory, everyone that isn't staked has an increased value. So in Bitcoin,
well, that assumes that there's demand for the Hex.
It does assume there's demand, yes.
And why would there be demand for this stuff?
Have you seen the CoinMarketCap top 100?
Yes.
Nothing has adoption, and yet everything is worth billions. So it turns out that in crypto, you do not need to have utility, you do not need to have demand, you need to have a good story and good marketing. And if you have trustlessness, that's fabulous.
And your story is that a portion of the people who can have Hex will access their Hex, and they're going to stake them, and then they're going to increase their Hex supply.
And they're going to buy more.
They're going to buy more, and they're just trying to increase their number of hexes. And then you're using Ethereum, which, if you saw my experiment, takes 25 days to sync a fucking node.
No one cares. It doesn't matter if you have a full node.
But sorry, Rich, this is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
Most of the attack vectors, which are real, are unexecuted. Everyone in this hotel could have locks that don't work, and you wouldn't know, because you're not actually testing them.
Wait, let me ask you something else. So how are you, why are you specifically, of all the things that you could be doing, how are you making money out of this?
If you want to become a billionaire, you have got a very limited number of ways to do it. You have to attack a very large market, and you have to be able to onboard new users with zero marginal cost per new user. And it turns out that printing free money out of thin air is very high margin, infinite margin. And the number of people that are interested in turning their money into more money is also nearly everyone, right? And so you've got a product which appeals to everyone, that has huge market share, and for some reason is totally unaddressed. We've got cryptocurrencies that are supposed to be green. We've got cryptocurrencies that are supposed to be private. But we don't have a cryptocurrency to replace the $7.2 trillion in time deposits just in the United States and China alone. That's larger than printed money. It's a larger market.
But you're not replacing the role. A time deposit is when you loan your money out to a bank and you earn interest on that.
Not from the customer's perspective. From the customer's perspective, he locks up his money and gets interest. He doesn't give a fuck what happens
why does
after.
he get interest though? It's because the bank is using his money to.
That's not actually true. It seems like it should be true, but in reality, when you give your money to the bank, it is not an asset to them. It goes on their liabilities side of the spreadsheet. When you give your money to the bank, they only use that as an excuse to have a higher reserve that then they use to actually get the money they lend out from the government.
Yeah, and then they still.
So your money doesn't actually get lent out. Your money just acts as an excuse.
It becomes a collateral portion that they can use to increase their.
And that's important because the real money is the money they're getting from the government. Your money doesn't actually get lent out. Your money just fucking sits there.
No, but
it's a liability.
But when you deposit money with the bank, you increase their collateral base, which allows them to expand their balance sheet.
Right, which allows. Yes.
So you are when you are making a time deposit, you are providing the bank with more leverage, so to speak, in the financial system.
Yes.
And that's what you're getting paid for.
And in Hex, you're doing the same thing. You're increasing the value of the unlocked coins by making it so that. So let's put it this way.
I'm going to think about this.
So
and
his appeal is that his brain wants to believe that in order for things to appreciate, there actually has to be some utility or usefulness. And if that is your belief system, you are not going to do well in crypto. the things in crypto that pump the hardest are the biggest, shittiest, stupidest fucking scams possible. The best ROI you ever made was on a 100% scam. That was totally fucked.
Was it the FOMO 3D thing?
No, the best ROI you ever made would have been on that Bitcoin private.
Yeah.
There's no way you beat that.
Yeah.
And that was a 100% scam.
I mean,
So-
you can build Ponzi schemes, and you can build
Right.
pump and dumps.
Yep.
So
So
this
how about
sounds
this?
like
What
you-
if you made a Ponzi, and what if you made a pump and dump, but you left out the dump? So let's take any Ponzi scheme. Let's take Plus Token. Let's take BitConnect. Huge, massive appreciation, huge onboarding of millions of users,
Wait,
but then the price dumps.
This is not what I want to ask you about. That. I want to ask you: are you competing with every other hex user on the exact same rules? Do you have
Me
any?
personally?
Do you
So
have
here's-
any
here's the
edge
two-
in the system that
I-
allows you to compete?
I won't speak to me personally, but I'll speak to what you want to hear. There's an origin address that gets a copy of bonuses. So if you
Sorry,
get in,
there's
there's
an
an origin address that
address?
gets a copy of bonuses. So if you get in early, you get a 20% bonus. Origin address gets a copy of that. If you refer somebody, you get a 20% bonus. Origin gets a copy. If you are referred, you get a 10% bonus. Origin gets a copy.
But how does this referral system work? You said I can just access my Bitcoin from the
Yep.
Merkle state
Yep.
root. Now, how do I refer somebody else to?
So when you use the wallet looks to see if you have a cookie set. And then it parses that cookie and says, I was referred by this.
And who gives you the cookie?
Well, you can generate your own cookie by just going to hex.win / $r equals your Ethereum address. You can use anyone's Ethereum address you want, and then they
Oh,
receive.
and are these extra? What are these extra? Because how many coins
They
are
get
in
minted. They just
the hex are unlimited?
no. So in my models, it looks like the supply after the first year will be in between 600 billion to 800 billion in that range. And as more people claim,